How's it going there, guys? Dave Nader here, and today I have another book review for you. Now today I'm reviewing the fourth book in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, Goblet of Fire. I reviewed the first three books all in one video a few months ago, so I've kind of taken a while to get this review for the fourth book to you guys, but hey, it's here now. So let's get into the plot. Of course, for the fourth time around, for his fourth year, Harry Potter is going to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, along with his friend Ron and Hermione. Her friends, Ron and Hermione. But before they go there, they go to the Quidditch World Cup. And while they're there, there's a sort of rally of Death Eaters who are former supporters of Lord Voldemort. And then all of a sudden, this symbol gets shot up into the air, known as the Dark Mark. And when that happened, Harry Potter's wand went missing, so that makes everyone a bit suspicious. And then when they actually get to Hogwarts, they realize that something very different is going on. There's a thing called the Tri-Wizard Tournament, which involves students from 3 different wizarding schools, Hogwarts, along with Beauxbatons and Durmstrang. And those 2 schools select students from those 2 different schools, go over to stay in Hogwarts for a year in hopes that they can compete in this tournament. And of course, it's just 3 people competing in these 3 different tasks laid throughout the year. But you have to be 17 to enter, so Harry Potter is not eligible for that. However, when it comes time for the people to be chosen, there's a 4th person that gets chosen, and that's Harry Potter. Wouldn't you know it? And that makes everyone very suspicious, and they're wondering what the heck is going on there, and it becomes pretty apparent to several of the teachers, along with Harry's godfather, Sirius Black, that someone is probably trying to hurt Harry. Again, for the 4th time. And also, meanwhile, there is a new teacher, the 4th one in a row, who is going to be a new teacher for Defense Against the Dark Arts, named Alistair Moody. And then you have your book. And yeah, this book is pretty great, as were the first 3. This book just has such good writing, just as the first 3 did. J.K. Rowling has a very good sense of humor. She's very clever. Just her wording, just the way she words things, makes everything interesting and consistently very entertaining to read. There's never a dull moment. The book is either, there's either great dialogue occurring between, characters like Ron, Hermione, and Harry. They always have great banter. Ron's hilarious, and Hermione is, kind of snooty, of course, but she's a very lovable character, and she's well-meaning, and she's not like an annoying snob. She's actually a good person who's likable and clever, who's kind of snobby at times. And Harry is just a great protagonist. He is flawed. He has a bit of a temper sometimes, and they're both layered characters, and I just love the different, layers that are added to their characters through the story. They really build on the character developments. And yeah, they always had great dialogue. Just the dialogue is always great for every character in the book. Dumbledore is as lovable and wise as ever. Hagrid is just the greatest. McGonagall just becomes better and better with each consecutive book. And she started out as just really kind of annoying and douchey in the first book. But now, by this point, by the 4th book, you realize, okay, she's pretty cool. She's kind of strict, but she knows what's up. And of course, Snape is just delightfully entertaining in how much of an ass he is to Harry. And, the only thing is I wish he had been in these books just a tad bit more so far. But yeah, so great dialogue, great new additions to each of the characters. I like the fact that Harry and Ron, for a very good portion of the book, are not getting along. And, in a lot of stories that might be kind of just tedious. It's like, alright, I know that the characters are going to be friends again at the end, so whatever, chop, 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 this is cliche. But here, because the writing is so good and the characters are just so good in their own right, you feel bad when you see them apart. You're like, oh, come on, just make up, guys. And also, it's hardly a spoiler to know that they become friends again, about halfway through the book, and, it's just very satisfying to see, and it's nice to see them go through that, kind of trial of tribulation of their friendship. It adds layers, like ogres and onions. Anyways, sorry, dumb reference. The book is very well paced, and yeah, whenever there isn't just great dialogue and great humor, there is really entertaining action and mystery solving going, because you know the books have always had, you know, the mystery elements. You know, there's always been some sort of backhanded stuff going on between the teachers, not sure what's going there, and possibly the students, and of course outside forces, or maybe even inside forces inside Hogwarts trying to get at Harry. And that aspect, the mystery solving aspect, you know, Ron and especially Harry and Hermione trying to solve what's, you know, going on and what's trying to get at Harry. You know, it's as entertaining as ever, and especially interesting. And of course, Goblet of Fire is significantly longer than the first 3 books, like way longer. And still, despite that fact, you know, despite the fact that it's not nearly as short, it's still just as well paced as the other ones. You know, you just read through it like that. You know, even for me, I'm a pretty slow reader. I still read it fairly quickly. It's, you know, it's well paced, and the action sequences are pretty much the best that they've been so far. They're the most intense. This is the most mature book. You know, there's some pretty dark stuff. It can get a bit gritty and kind of violent, especially for a kid's book. You know, the different things that they have to do for the Triwizard Tournament are very cool. And speaking of which, let's talk about the other characters. Okay, so like the Cedric Diggory was the original person who was chosen to be the Hogwarts computer until the 4th person, Harry, was chosen. Cedric Diggory, you know, for a while I was kind of not entirely sure what to make of him. Like, is he kind of a jerk or kind of a snob, or is he actually a nice person? But really, he's a good, well-meaning person, well-written character. Not in the book that much. I think it could have been maybe just a tiny bit more, had more conversations between him and Harry. But of course they are competing with each other, so they're kind of probably going to stay away, you know, because they're at odds with each other. And there is some tension between them because of, well, Cho Chang. Harry has a crush on her, and of course, wouldn't you know it, Cedric and Diggory and her are together, and so you kind of feel bad for Harry in that regard. That was entertaining to see. You know, the computer from Durmstrang is, like, actually, you know, despite the fact that he's still a student in school, he is actually, he plays in the Quidditch World Cup that Harry goes to with Ron and Hermione. So, you know, he's a professional Quidditch player. He's, you know, you don't see a whole lot of him, but what you hear about him, you kind of hear from Hermione, because him and her have kind of a thing, which makes Ron jealous, and I really like to see that. And, you know, just seeing Ron get jealous all of a sudden, you know, obviously it sets up, you know, what happens in later books in the series, and, you know, it was just charming to see how the characters can, you know, be such good friends and yet at the same time totally at odds with each other and get into arguments. It's just really entertaining. I think I've said the word entertaining a bit too many times in this review, but whatever. And also DeFleur from Beau de Batons. She is a bit of a mysterious character. You don't know what to make of her. And yeah, again, she's not in the book that much, but she is interesting when you do get to learn maybe a tad bit more about her. And by the end of the book, she does actually become a fairly likable character in her own rights. You know, and Alistair Moody also, he is just the best. I mean, you know, he has an eye, like one of his eyes is apparently gouged out, and so he has a magic eye that can see through walls and see through Harry's invisible cloak, for instance, and it can turn around like into the back of his head, and you can just see anything, really. It's an all-seeing eye, basically. And he's just a very likable character. He's a very big, gruff, tough man who growls out all his words, you know. But, you know, he's just a very nice person who you can tell genuinely cares about Harry. The dialogue scenes between him and Harry are very endearing. You know, it kind of reminded me of how endearing the dialogue scenes are between Harry and Hagrid. Speaking of Hagrid, oh my gosh, it felt so bad for Hagrid in this book, because there is this kind of bitch reporter, Rita Skeeter, sorry for profanity, but I mean, she's just such a jerk. You know, she's a gossiper, you know, she writes tabloid type articles, and she makes up, literally just makes up all types of stuff about Harry and especially Hagrid, and just, man, I felt so bad. I mean, you know you're getting into a book when you literally out loud halfway through a book are reading an article written by Rita Skeeter, a fictional character, and out loud go, "Oh, screw you, Rita." As soon as I realized I said that out loud, I was like, anyone around? Okay, good lord, thank you. No one heard that. You know, kind of awkward. Again, just a testament to how much I was getting into the story and loving the characters. Hagrid is just the best, and it really gets you down to see how depressed he gets at certain points in this book, and I was like, and you know, it's great to see. Again, the book is very exciting. Sorry, I was about to talk about the different things that they do for the Triwizard Tournament, and I got off on a tangent about the great characters again, but still, just the tasks that they have to do were very good. You know, I'm only going to go into the first one because I'm trying to refrain from spoilers here. The first one involves a dragon, and I really love how, you know, Harry had been training to use that, you know, Accio thing to where he can summon the summoning charm, and how he finally gets it to work really well on the last second, gets his broom to him and uses that and pretty much does the best job out of any of the other ones, you know, fighting this dragon, getting the egg. You know, it was a very exciting scene. The only problem is too short. You know, I haven't seen the film in adaptation in quite a while. That was probably, I saw that like in 2011, so a long time ago. But yeah, I recall it being so exciting there, and I was so excited to get this part in the book, and then it was over. So maybe it's a little bit unfair expectations just trying to compare the book to the movie, but, you know, and movies, generally speaking, are going to have more elaborate and you know, especially big blockbuster Hollywood movies, you're of course going to have big, huge action sequences like that. But still, you know, it's maybe not a fair comparison, but I thought that the sequence could have been elaborated on a little bit more. But also, this is the creepiest book so far out of the ones that I've reviewed, because like just the opening scene, I'm not going to get into it, it felt like something out of a horror novel, and I was like really on edge. I was like, what the heck is about to happen here? It was very atmospheric, and of course the end of the book, just the last 50, 60, 70 pages, so chilling what eventually happens. And of course, you know, you kind of know what's going to happen. I mean, this isn't really that much of a spoiler. Not getting into it too much, Voldemort comes back in his physical form, and just that scene in the graveyard is so chilling and sad and very depressing. You feel so bad for Harry, and when he comes back, there of course is the revelation about a certain character, and again, I'm trying to refrain from spoilers, but that was so well done, and I couldn't remember that from seeing that in the film adaptation, so it still kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh dang, that's right, oh wow, great twist. You know, this book has the best like twists and turns, and as far as the mystery aspect goes, it's the best so far of the ones that I reviewed. It's an incredibly well-paced book. Again, despite the fact that it's way longer, it doesn't feel dragged out at all. The characters are great. The different trials and tribulations they do and how they grow throughout the story just gets better and better with each book in the series, and that totally continues here. Great action, very well written. It's charming. It's creepy and frightening at times. All the new characters introduced are great. There, you get to see a lot more of Dobby in this book, which I loved, and also another house elf character who I really like too. You know, she's kind of annoying, but at the same time, she's like, well, not going to get too much into there. It's a great book, but I do think that, you know, certain characters could have been used a little bit more, namely Cedric Diggory, maybe Snape, and certain sequences I thought could have been expanded just a tad bit more. But still, great book overall. I'm going to have to give it an A. Now, if you like this video, please rate and comment and subscribe, and if you want to, you can also share, and also please look forward to my Order of the Phoenix review, which is coming out pretty soon. Goodbye.